Namo tasse bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tasse bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tasse bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Punacha parang bhikkhave bhikkhu imameva kayang yatha thitang yata panihitang dhatuso pacca vekkati atti nimasmin kaye patavi dhatu apo dhatu tejo dhatu vayo dhatu ti Sayyatapi bhikkave dakho gogatako agogatako antivasiva Tatum mahapate bilaso pativibhajitva nisinno assa eva meva ko bhikkave bhikkhu kaye kayanupassi viharati yatatitam yatapanihitam dhatuso pacca vekkati ti. Dear devotees, we were in a series of discourses based upon the Sathipattana Sutta, or the four foundation of mindfulness. So far we were discussing about the very first contemplation on the body as body. There are a lot of steps we have already discussed now, and there is a kind of a trend whereby starting from the grosser parts and the grosser activities and coming slowly to the subtlety. So last time we started to see the anatomical parts of the body. Basically the two parts which is more representing the earth element and the water element. That counts to 31, and basically taken as an antidote to the lustful feeling towards one's body. So therefore these 32 parts or 31 parts, namely, whenever analyzed and contemplated, you develop rather the repulsivity of the body. Whenever one is mature enough and skillful enough and to go into these analytical parts of 32, if he is skillful and looking forward, he may open 3 doorways to proceed along this Sathipattana meditation or insight meditation. One thing is the most commonly recognized, the repulsivity of the body. So that is taken as one of the guardian meditation against the desire or lustful feeling towards the body as well as towards the opposite sex. That is the most commonly interpreted way of this analytical observation on the body, namely 31 parts. The other one is to see the elementaries, dhatu manasikara. So one thing is dhatu manasikara, the other one is 32 parts basically on the repulsivity. Yet another one can use as a means or technique, like the color of the each and every part. The hair, when you it's taken as the grey color. The eye, the blood, you taken as the red color. And the very pure bones, you can take it as white color. And the urine or biles, you can take it as yellow color, something like that. 4 colors also derived out of these 32 parts. Therefore, whenever the 32 parts you are going to be well versed or veteran, you may either see the repulsivity or the elementary parts the attributes of the elements, or towards the color. The color as well as the repulsivity leading to the concentration kind of meditation, the elementary part leading to the insight meditation. So the next step the Buddha recognized is the elementary parts or analytical approach towards the insight meditation. Punacha param bhikkhave imameva kayam yathātitang yathāpanihitang dhātuso paccavekkhati. Here again the bhikkhu review in the very same body, his own body, however it is placed, whether it is standing or sitting or walking or lying down, whatever may be the posture, however may be the disposed as consisting of elements. This body is a representative of 4 elements. Thus, in this body there are the earth element, the solid part, the water element, the liquid part, the fire element, the heat and cold of the body, specifically in the living body, and the air element, that is the quality of motion or expansion or contraction, that kind of motions. These are the 4 elements. When we are coming down from the 31 parts that we have already dealt, it is basically talking about the earth element and the water element, solidity and the liquidity. The balance too, the heat and the air element, is characteristic of a living body, but not in the dead body. In the dead body, the heat and cold manipulations are not there. It is just dead and it is just cold. And the air elements, the motion and the movements are not there. It is lying dead. So, early 32 parts consist of earth element and the water element, common to the dead body as well as the living body. So, whenever you are going to give furtherance in along the contemplation, when you are comparing the external body and internal body, these 32 parts give a common approach. But as far as being is concerned, it is not limited to these 2 solid parts as well as to the solid parts and the liquidity part. You have to remember, it is consists of fire element as well as the air element. So, understanding these 4 elements was prehistoric, pre-Buddhist in India. And sometimes this material body, the corporeality, can be reduced into this water element, earth element, water element, fire element and the air element. Sometimes they add the 5th one also, the space, the gap between these parts. So in that sense it becomes 5. And adding the consciousness, in the Rahulavada Sutta, the Buddha himself mentioned to the prince, not the prince, the Samanera Rahula, Cha Dhaturoyam Puriso. Or the also Rahula, one being, one man, one entity means only these 6 elements. What are these? The earth element, water element, fire element, air element, the space and the consciousness. This is the kind of approach to give higher weight and a higher emphasis on the corporeality rather than the mentality. Rupa Dhamma rather than on the Nama Dhamma. Whenever the Nama Dhamma is taken the higher attention and give the lesser attention or emphasis on the corporeality, Rupa Dhamma, it says Rupa, Vedana, Sanya, Sankhara, Viññāna. The whole earth element, water element, fire element, air element and the space in between called Rupa Dhamma. And the Nama Dhamma is being divided into the feeling, the mind, and the feeling, perception, volition, and the consciousness. Like that you have to understand according to the contextual presentation, these mentality and materiality, the corporeality and the mentality can be divided according to the context. So here the Sathipattana Sutta, basically 4 elements taken to represent the corporeal body, the physical body. In the physical body, understanding of these 4 elements, as we indicated, is pre-Buddhistic and a very common, as well as a very profound kind of explanation given by the wise people at that time. Therefore, you can study it as a book knowledge. And when it comes to the science, the earth element is called the solid. The water element called liquid. Air element called as air. And the heat and cold called thermal physics. So therefore, the science also in a way recognize the same, though it is called and recognized as the Western approach. And the East and Western come to some kind of agreement as far as the physics of the body is concerned. So therefore, theoretically, one can understand. Further, you can deduce or inferentially you can rationalize and see whether it is fitting to our day-to-day experiences. So that kind of inferential kind of knowledge is more than the just book knowledge, and you try to think, rationalize and deduce. Even then you may come to the conclusion, yes, as far as the materiality is concerned, only these 4 elements, there is nothing more than that. This is called Chintamaya Panya. The book knowledge is called, theoretical knowledge is called Suttamaya Panya. What you learn, what you heard, and it is just theory. When it is becoming contemplative, when become rationalized, it is called Chintamaya Panya. All these are inferior when you are compared with Bhavanamaya Panya, with the direct experience. So our emphasis must be to see how these elements can be experienced in terms of meditation, sitting meditation, walking meditation, and in day-to-day activities. So one has to go seriously into the mindfulness on in-breath and out-breath, how these elements are going to manifest. Earlier, we try to put this experience of Anapanasati or in-breath and out-breath into 3 basic elements: the strike element, the base element, and the ignition element. In the breathing experience, the strike element is in and out air draft. The element come and hit on along the track, the respiratory tract. So some particular place may be more prominently and conspicuously touched, but the whole respiratory system is involved there. The strike element, the cause is the air element. Air come and strike. Therefore it is called Vayo Pottabha Dhatu. The kind of rubbing sensation of the air element. So it come and give kind of a touch, give kind of a contact to your sensitivity of the body. Maybe at the tip of your nose or on the top of your upper lip. Some people may find the most contact or most rubbing sensation happening somewhere in the throat, or somewhere in the chest, or somewhere near the navel point or solar plexus, or somewhere else. Wherever may be, when the air element comes and strikes on the sensitivity of the body, the epidermis, that becomes the base. The body element is the base upon which the element come and strikes. And when the strike happens, striking, you feel it. The rubbing of the in-breath air, the rubbing of the outgoing air. Sometimes you feel the in-breath is cooler than the out-breath. Some may feel the in-breath is longer than the out-breath. Some may feel in-breath is a very calm and quiet draft, out-breath is a turbulent. Or sometimes the in-breath is like a turbulent, it's a quick sucking, and out-breath is a very calm and quiet outgoing. So all these features that you experience are the manifestation of these elements. So therefore, the particular yogi who is biased towards the insight is bound to observe these sensations made out of the draft element which come and strike upon made out of the strike element come and strike on the sensitivity of the skin. And then you feel heat, cold, stiffness, tension, tingling sensation, sometimes benumbing, sometimes like a heaviness, lightness, all the kind of thing happens. All are manifestation of these elements. So when the teacher is asking you to observe the in-breath and out-breath more closely, or more in a vigilant way, more mindful way, more diligent way, that he is asking the difference between the experience of in-breath and out-breath. So many yogis find very difficult, difficulties in explanation how to discriminate this in-breath and out-breath. But definitely they are not in a difficulty in feeling the in-breath separate from the out-breath. The discrimination is there in the experience, but whenever they ask to report, it is a difficulty. That is the point that we are going to highlight with this opportunity of elementary analysis. If the attention is based upon the strike element, that we call that particular yogi is biased towards the concentration meditation, then he finds difficult to feel, experience, explain the difference between in-breath and out-breath. But if he is naturally or intrinsically insight kind of a person, even may or may not be it is explainable or expressible, but the experience is remarkably different. So he has to again and again observe the same in-breath and out-breath and try to verbalize it, try to put into words and to report to the teacher as to what is the difference between the in-breath and out-breath. When this is happening, the in-breath is cooler than the out-breath, or in-breath is longer than the out-breath, or in-breath is more calm and quiet. That kind of attributes, it is not by itself is prominent. You have to very carefully observe as and when the in-breath and out-breath happens. So that is how you are going to make use the mindfulness as well as the concentration to get this discrimination. So therefore, without get disheartening, without get discouraged, you have to observe the phenomena of breathing very closely. Whenever the mind calms, falls calm and quiet on the process and ready to see, in-breath is in-breath, not mixed up with out-breath. Out-breath means out-breath, not mixed up with the in-breath. The touching point may be at the tip of the nose or on the top of the upper lip, not mixed up with the other experiences of the whole body. The body touching while you are sitting on the ground is separate touch than the touch of in-breath and out-breath. So likewise, this discriminative knowledge is an essential thing for yogi to progress, or the mindfulness to be sharpened, the concentration to be very penetrative. So that is why the yogis are asked to see more closely and continuously and consecutively on the in-breath and out-breath, being stationed the mind, the noting mind, the meditative mind, in one particular place. So if these things are aligned, if these things are in line with, definitely you are bound to see. If you are looking at in-breath and out-breath, being in the particular place, you are bound to see. If you are not looking, you will not see. The idea of, or the theory behind listening to the Dhamma talks and taking a discussion is to take this alignment and to get the proper emphasis. What is the real responsibility of the yogi, and what are the things to be looked for. The outcome must be the elementary analysis in terms of what is the difference between in-breath and out-breath, in terms of heat and cold, stiffness, tension, hardness, softness, length of the rubbing sensation, the shortness of the rubbing sensation. When these are happening, you will see each and every in-breath has its own different characteristics. If you are sharp enough to see and maintain this difference for breathing to happen in consecutively, definitely you are going to get benefited in terms of the difference between in-breath versus in-breath, out-breath versus out-breath. If you are losing the first discrimination between the in-breath versus out-breath, definitely you are going to lose. You are going to be blind towards the difference between in-breath versus in-breath. So that is why the early breathings are very gross and very full of the nostrils and happening in a grosser manner. So this is the best time for the yogis to get the discrimination between the in-breath and out-breath. Once that is established and you are obedient to the instructions and to see the forthcoming in-breath, out-breath, in-breath, out-breath without the disturbance, then definitely you can compare what is the first in-breath, and then after about 5 minutes of continuous breathing, what is happening to the in-breath. Is it becoming longer or shorter? Is the rubbing sensation is becoming grosser and grosser, or subtler and subtler? Sometimes it is in a heterogenic in the pattern. Whatever may be, the difference in the chronological order can be perceivable only for the yogis, he who can see the difference between in-breath and out-breath. So therefore, satova asasati, satova pasasati, mindfully he in-breath, mindfully he or she out-breath. So therefore, this is the point where the elementary or the elementary attributes can be come into the meditation, see the manifestation of them in the meditative manner. That is called bhavanamaya panya. But the difficult thing, or the difficulty in understanding is as to what is the importance of seeing this elementary part in the in-breath and out-breath, because we have lived in the whole the samsara where births and deaths happen. We have fared well without seeing this elementary part. And all of the universe full of human beings, no one is worried about the elementary part. What is the benefit of looking at that? So this is very difficult to convince. So, but it is our duty to go into that, ponder into that. Why the Buddha is asking us to be aware of elementary in our day-to-day activities. Now for the moment we are discussing about sitting meditation. Whenever you are going to be face to face with these elementary parts, in the in-breath, the coldness, in the out-breath, the heat. In the in-breath, the longer rubbing than the out-breath. Out-breath is shorter than longer. Like that, if you are going to see, one thing is for sure, that is, you are here and now in breathing. But definitely not in thinking. Definitely not in hearing sounds. Definitely not your mind is scattered around the other parts of the body. So therefore the sharpness and the clarity of the object is so assured. So one thing is, more and more observation, the elementary observation on the in-breath and out-breath is to foster or nourish your mindfulness. Mindfulness in the progress. But in the normal concentration meditation, you are being asked to see fixed element, fixed object, but in the Vipassana meditation, inside meditation, you can see even within the breathing, in-breath is different from the out-breath, and the in-breath is different from next in-breath also. And when you go further, when you proceed, you can see the beginning of in-breath is different than the middle of the in-breath, and the end of the versus out of the end of the in-breath. Likewise, once you reduce your attention to the subatomic level, to the particle physics, you can see the changing nature is so vivid, you can be still observe very closely. More you become closer to the object, more and more the phenomena become vivid. It becomes more dramatic. It becomes more lively. And then when you go further and further, you can't feel, you can't see any traces of a soul. There is no being there unless otherwise four elements. Whatever the phenomena, under the light of this aligned mindfulness or established mindfulness, steadfast mindfulness and continuity of the concentration, you can't see any maleness or femaleness. You can't see any being there. He who is waiting to satisfy their sensual impressions. So therefore, more and more you go to the elements, you are become more and more disillusioned from the ego trip. More and more you are disillusioned to the elementary part, more and more you are going to take a ride from the ego trip. So therefore, those who wish this ego trip, they are not happy, they are not taking time to see the elementary part of the each and every action we are doing. Yatha-titan, yatha-panihitan, whatever the way the body is placed, whatever the way body is disposed, they are not willing, they can't see the rationality behind why one should look at the elements. But whenever you are going to elements, you are dead sure you are here and now. And you are dead sure this is exactly what happened the person in front of you. This is exactly what happened in the non-living elementary parts also. The just earth outside of your body. Just the water outside of your body. Just the air element, just the heat element, all have their own intrinsic characteristics. Whenever the earth element manifests, it shows, it manifests in terms of the hardness and the softness, the roughness and the smoothness. There is no other way. They are in a law of nature. It is not belongs to a soul. It is not belongs to a creator God. They are basic elements, they are particle physics, they are elementary, they are subatomic. So if you are so immediate, if you are so aligned, if you are so here and now with in-breath and out-breath, definitely you can see through where there is no soul, there is no kind of external creator. Everything appears to be transparent. Everything appears to be directly to your observation. And if you merely understand the science, that the repeatability and the verifiability, this is the point. If you are brave enough, if you are ready to go, if you are ready to experiment with your human life, this is one of the most important dramatic transitional points in the yogi. He can approach, of course, while he is walking. He can approach this point in sleeping or lying down, not in the sleeping, lying down or in standing, whatever may be the posture. But the proximate causes, something like things like mindfulness and the concentration are more stronger in the sitting posture. And therefore, first in your life, first in your whole samsara, you may feel the elementary in breath and out breath, or in the phenomena just in front of you, mainly in the sitting posture. But that does not indicate in the standing posture, and when you are busy with other purposeful jobs, they are not there. Simply you are not looking at, you are not inside. Usually in the purposeful jobs, you are always extrovert. Your attention is outwardly. So they are at lost. You are not in the present moment. That is why this meditation is called insight meditation. And you are here and now. Whatever the phenomena, if you are going to focus your searchlight of mindfulness and the concentration, ultimately you can go into the particles, go into the elementaries. When you go to the elementaries, you in that moment sharing with the whole universe in terms of the hardness and the softness, in terms of roughness and the smoothness, in terms of heat and cold. So therefore, you become a part and parcel of the world. Sometimes it is cold. You become just a grain of sand in a sand bed. Nothing is special. Huge sand bed, you are yet another grain of sand. Exactly, when you come to the elementary level, your identity, the conventional names and all the attributes are become just washed off, eroded. You just come to the presence of the, come to the here and now, and then you feel this understanding or to the exposure to the present moment will never become an old phenomena. This is ever young. This is ever very active. This is ever happening without anyone's interference. Once the mindfulness and the concentration happen, if you are look, no one can prevent your observation. You will see. Therefore you feel like omnipotent God. Omniscient knowledge you have, because whatever the phenomena, whatever the posture you have, if you have a healthy mind and develop mindfulness and the concentration, you can see, you can look through, you can see it is transparency. So this is one of the milestones in the journey, is the elementary kind of analysis. When the elementary analysis happens, or when you become very efficient in the elementary, basic liberations, basic kind of emancipations, basic kind of relaxation happen, because you will lose the boundary where the internal external changes happens. As far as the elementaries are concerned, elements are concerned, there is no in and out. Everything just elements. So therefore, whenever the internal, external different disappears, you feel like you are dissolved. You are like a grain of salt or a crystal of salt thrown into the sea, dissolved into the sea. So you are part and parcel of the universe. And the elementary, when the inside meditation develop up to the elementary level, you find they are in such a flux, such a fast movement. So there is no necessity one to come and say they are impermanent. There is no utter permanent. There is no any kind of permanency there. It is utter in impermanence. So therefore, whenever the elementary comes, you lose the boundary between in and out, as well as you definitely can't see not a single thing in the whole universe which may appear equal to thought moments. Each thought moment is different from the other thought moment. So when the elementary manifests, you may find the impermanence is inevitably in front of you. Unavoidably, it is in front of you. Therefore, this is being recommended by the Buddha, irrespective of their creed, irrespective of the sex, irrespective of whether ordained or a layman. Everyone has this ability. This is the human nature. It is not the Buddhist job. It is not confined to the Buddhists. So when the elementary happens, you are losing the in and out boundary, and you are losing the concept or misconception of permanency. Definitely everything is impermanent. And the elementary wise, one day the Buddha himself has given advice to the Samanera Rahula. He says, if you can see your whole being, specifically the materialistic part is just 4 elements, then if you consider yourself as just water element, earth element, fire element and the air element, and if you are ready to understand the person in front of you or person encountered with you, also just the earth element, the water element, fire element and the air element, you can't develop any kind of a hatred towards others. You can't develop any kind of malice towards the others, because earth element has no desire. Earth element has no any hate. Element has no any bewilderment. So if you are going to recognize yourself as a being or self, soul, or a male or female, definitely you have your own rights to get angry with the other person. But if you are going to reduce yourself to the elements and to see the other person also from the same perspective, you can see there is no chance for you to develop hatred towards others, love towards others. Because this is just a joke. There is no necessity. So therefore, it is a good way of developing loving kindness towards the others, or kind of compassion towards the others, because all are just elements. There is nothing. So for the bhikkhus, those who have the high ordination, the Buddha himself is telling, whenever you are dealing with the materials like your robes, materials like your food, materials like your dwellings, and the materials like your medicine, just be contemplative. Parisankayoniso chivaram patisevami. May I use this robe with the clear comprehension and the good understanding. I am just wearing this robe. Parisankayoniso chivaram patiseva yavadeva sitasa patikhataya unnasa patikhataya dansamakada vatatava sirisapa sampassanam patikhataya. I am using this just to avoid the heat, and just to avoid the coldness, and just to avoid the piercing insects like mosquitoes, and the biting insects, chewing insects, and the crawling elements, beings or creatures. That's the purpose. And it is not adoration, it is not the beautification, just the purpose. And then he says, this robes also made out of the earth element, and the other elements are not much prominent, and your body also just earth element and the water element. So elements come contact with the elements, there is nothing. As far as the robe carries no soul, the wearing you also, if you are sharp enough to see yourself as element, no soul. Nissatto nijjivo sunyo. It's free of a satta. Jiva of a jiva. And it's just void. It's voidness. So when that is happening, this is the best benefit or best way of using a robe. And when you are taking a meal, also to contemplate, they are just 4 elements, and they come and contact with your so-called self-elements, and that is how this life is continues in the household, dwellings, as well as the medicine what you are taking. So this is how we have to see through the physics and the elementary part. Whenever elementary part comes, definitely you can't see the difference between in and out. You can't see any permanent thing there. It is so in a flux. It is so in ever changing. And you can't hate other elements. You can't find fault with the other elements. Like therefore your special lust or special kind of attraction towards the other being or other person can be slowly disappeared, and then you will see the other person also. As far as he is ignorant, he will recognize himself as the male, female, good, bad, young, old, all the kind of thing, but to the elements there is no age. Therefore, from the elementary point of view, you can entertain birthday each of the day 365 days. They are ever rising and passing away. So therefore, for the elements, each day is the birthday. There is no once in 365 days speciality. So all the things appear to be equal at that time. So when the elementary appears, elementary become manifested through your inside meditation, all the things have a same taste. That is impermanent. More and more you look into that, you will never find any clue to say there are permanency. And something, when you find ever impermanent and don't give a relaxation, even for a split second, so that is what the Buddha says, that is suffering. That is never for our satisfaction. So whatever may be impermanent is the suffering, because it won't allow for you to even and split second to ease, relax, because it is ever changing. So therefore when the elementary approach happen to see in any phenomena, you will find that looking, very observation itself is boring. It is so monotonous. It is so fearful sometimes. It appears so baseless. So therefore you must have the knowledge beforehand whenever things are being displayed in terms of elements. At the beginning, of course, you will see it's a great achievement through the mindfulness and the concentration. But when you are to see continuously, you will see it is not attractive. It is not going to give any satisfaction. It's ever in proliferation, ever in changing, ever in a flux. So therefore, when the impermanent nature and the suffering nature comes, many inside yogis feel uncomfortable to sit in the sitting posture. Even the sitting posture appear very boring, very monotonous, appear equal all the sides, and they are losing sometimes the attention towards the food, attention towards their outer appearance, so much of thing, and this is highly prominent in the people in the old age. Whenever they become highly moved, highly mobilized through the Vipassana meditation, often they skip meals. And they don't feel like entertaining the life. So therefore the elementary kind of approach, and you have to see, if you are going to take that to the extremes, you will develop kind of a negative approach to the life. This is happening because the elementary observation or see the phenomena towards the element level is the maximum you can go along the materiality. The material things appear so subtle because of this high, the steadfast mindfulness and the concentration. Then immediately mind change the face to the mentality. As far as the material aspects are gross, this is not there. Mind has something to see, it has something to entertain and observe, experience, but when it comes to the very subtle level of elements, the meditation changing from material to the mentality. That is how the emotions going to play. Emotionally you will be bored. Emotionally you will feel not interesting, not attractive. You feel like baseless thing. What is the use of doing that? So there you have to understand, and not whenever these kind of emotions going to come. This is a good advancement along the meditation, and it is nothing wrong with the mindfulness and the concentration. So if you are sharp enough to maintain the continuity of the mindfulness and the concentration, definitely you feel confidence, you feel the continuity, you feel the history, how it happened. But if your mindfulness is ad hoc and changing on and off, and you try to become, often you become absent-minded, definitely this overwhelming boredom or the monotony will be a sickness. So therefore, whenever the mind is going to the, whenever the observation going to this elementary level, you must try to maintain the mindfulness and the concentration as continuous as possible, as consistent as possible. And then you can easily face the mental aspect of the meditation. So therefore, element kind of approach of the meditation is quite a changing our point, important point. You are changing a kind of a threshold value. So each day, if you can come up to that level and then proceed further, that sitting can be recognized as a successful sitting. So when the breathing, when early part of the in-breath and out-breath, you will see the differences in elementary attributes or the manifestations. But when the breathing becomes subtler and subtler, and your approach and your observation becomes so immediate with the phenomena, you will see the difference between in-breath and out-breath disappears. The shapes and the manners of the breathing process disappears. Ultimately, you will see the stiffness, tension, movements, hardness, coldness, numbness, all the kind of throughout the breathing. So there you are bound to complain, telling that my breath stops. But that is not what happens. What is happening is the conventional attributes of the longness, shortness, in-breath, out-breath, naming, all things will be washed off. You are end up with just element. When the element comes, you can't find the difference between in-breath and out-breath, but the breathing happens. And you will report it as there is no breathing. So teachers are asking you just not to get shaken. Be contented. Continue with this same process, keeping the mind in the appointed place what you have already selected. And that is how you prepare yourself to this meditation, that subtle level and the deeper level of meditation. That is called the subtle kind of breathing. When you are proceeding, sometimes you have to maintain this situation for minutes. sometimes half an hour. Then only it goes to a very dynamic position. Ultimately, there is no breathing as such. I mean, perceivably no breathing as such, but you are heavily engaged in this immediacy of the phenomena, the elementary aspects and the impermanent flux will be quite face to face with you. And if you are brave enough and you are lucky enough, one time not only the difference between the in-breath and out-breath disappears, the difference between the object and the meditating mind also disappears. You appear like you are creeping into or penetrating into the phenomena. This is the point. For the first time in the samsara, you feel without a being, just the experience. You can't comprehend the body. You can't comprehend the time dimension. You can't comprehend the spatial dimension, and you are just in the experience. And that is why if you have no moral backing, if you have no continuity of the mindfulness, and if you have no confidence of the concentration, you will be shaken and you will be shocked to see the real experience of the phenomena. So that is how your personality and your mental stamina is slowly hardened and taken to the challenges through the line of mindfulness and the concentration. That is why I told that stepping over of this threshold of these elements is a big change, and only possible for the insight meditators, not for the others. When this is happen, of course, you can understand the in and out difference. Therefore, the dead thing and the living things, everything experience kind of impermanence. Not in terms of lack of consciousness and the having consciousness, but even the physics. Those who are practicing physics also will say each and every atom is just nothing but just a flux of energy. And you are experiencing it without an electron microscope, without any understanding about physics. And those who arrived to this elementary part of the physics, the subatomic parts, they are developing so much of equipments, gadgets, formulas, equations, and more to go into this elementary part, they become more and more chaotic. The Buddhists, those who are practicing with the mindfulness and the concentration, when they are experiencing the elements without any equipment, without any formula, just be immediate with the object, immediate with the phenomena, they will be more and more confident. The mental stamina will be developed, and they will be ready to understand the sudden death. Each and every moment we are dying and reborn. Again the death, again the reborn. Therefore arising and passing away become universal. For this phenomena of arising and passing away, there is no beginning in the whole universe, throughout the whole time dimension. But it has already started. But it is in arising and passing away. You are just passively observing it. You are at a distance, you are observing the phenomena, but it won't give any rest, any relaxation for split second. But it is not asking any manifestation, any contribution from you. It is a passing show. It is running thing. You are just observing. More and more you get the confidence, you will see living things as well as the dead things are always in the flux of arising and passing away. Whenever the elements of Patavi Dhatu, Apo Dhatu going to manifest, instead of any shape, instead of any manner, you will just see the flux. So losing the shape and the manner is a devastative thing for those who have entertained the samsara with the notion of permanency. Those who are ready to see things as they are, to accept the impermanence, the birth, the old age, the sickness and the death, they will see this kind of conventional death once in a life. But in this elementary part, when you see the impermanence, you see it is happening in each and every split second. So the amount of brevity that you are developing, the self-confidence you are developing is enormous. Very difficult to give it by the theory knowledge that we discussed earlier. Very, very difficult to comprehend it by just thinking, by rationalizing, by deduction. Of course that theory knowledge and the deductive knowledge is helping, pushing you towards the direct experience, but direct experience is completely happening in a different dimension. So when you become more and more aware of this phenomena, away from the internal external boundary or convention, away from the living and dead things, your self-confidence and the challenges towards the visibility of the light is slowly increasing. Your the threshold value is slowly increasing. So that is why the Buddha himself, after introducing these 4 elements, the next step given in the Sathipattana Sutta is just to see a dead body. The person who is in the idea of self-indulgence and sense impressions, the looking itself or suggestion to look or go and see, to see a dead body itself is appear to be bad omen. But those who are skillful in the elements, the water element and the earth element life, it's a good reminder. Because this is the end of everyone. If you are forgetting this death, you are about to entertain the sense impressions and to think about, plan about and maximizing it, taking it in an immediate manner. But the end result is the death. And through the elements, you are bound to see the death in the instant way, here and now. So therefore, whenever the dead body is there, Buddha is asking to see, this is the fate of everyone. You can imagine or you can just see the dead body and see what is the difference there and here. And when it is, according to the Indian background, just thrown into the carnal ground or the cemetery, and then it will decay. No one is attending, no one is cremating, no one is going for the burial kind of ceremony. So you can see, you can have that practical demonstration. So then you can see slowly all the fleshy part and the liquid part disappears, ultimately end up with just pure bones. So there is no difference between the dead and the living. That is exactly the same kind of bones you have. Therefore, the Buddha himself very boldly make a statement that if you are brave enough to see the dead body and try to get this concept of death, contemplation upon the death, at that very moment you are really living. Living in the present moment, you are not in the dreaming on the sense impressions, not thinking about the indulgence of any other, but you are really living. And if you are ready to maintain this living moment to moment continuation, that you will be never taken for a ride by the sense impressions. And if you are living in such a lively manner or living manner, your death will be very calm and quiet. Or if you are lucky enough, you can experience the deathlessness as the end result. Looking at the death as such, or seeing the body as body, is leading to this deathlessness. So that is why Buddha says, he can't see any other such a phenomena or such a good observation toward the deathlessness just like the death. But it is for the moment, for us, it is a kind of imagination. But you can rationalize, definitely. There is not a single doctor in the whole universe who has surmounted this death. All the doctors has died. Not a single one. Therefore, even if you are not a doctor or doctor, definitely, whatever the strategies, whatever the machines, that is the end. The moment you accept it, you are really living. You are not dreaming. You are not in the sleep state. So when to accept that death, definitely if you are armed with, if you are reinforced with this elementary, your advancement will be reinforced and galvanize your mindfulness and the concentration. Otherwise, it's a fearful thing. Specifically, the young people and the Western people, those who are living in the future, definitely will not happy to hear about the contemplation upon the death. But those who are past the age of 40 and 50, definitely they know what to do. They have to accept it. So therefore, younger the better, if you can understand the breathing itself, in terms of the elementary parts, in terms of the quick death, when you are taken in, if the outbreath won't take place, that means you are bound to death. And the Buddha himself says, when you are taking the meal, one morsel, and then the death can happen before the next morsel. And the in-breath can happen, but the out-breath is not sure. So much so, the death is at our doorstep, but we try our best just to forget about with the help of this self-impression. So therefore, towards the end of the Kayanupassana section, it is the death or the instant death as the elements bring it to its peak. So it is becoming a challenge. Then only you are prepared and be well trained to see the mental part of it. Still we are dealing with the material part. So material part when becomes subtler and subtler, go deeper and deeper, it is making the mind and the person conducive and suitable towards the mentality. So that is how the Kayanupassana is leading to the Vedananupassana, the feeling side of the entity. So this much also, starting from mindfulness on the in-breath and out-breath, leading to the elementary part, is covering a big range. And when it comes to the elements, it is more toward the physics. And nowadays, the people, those who are specialized in the physics, they have come to that level and they do not know how to relate to their scientific model into these elements, into these energies. So they are coming out with this quantum theory, probability, chaos theory, and fractionism, and more science become a fraction. More and more science become a chaotic. So therefore they definitely know that extrovert application and extrovert observation leading to nowhere. So there is no place to look into, they have to see inside meditation. Not a single religion is in a capable situation to answer this situation. So when they come and open the book and see, this all kind of detailed analysis in the books make them awake. Amazing. But unlucky enough, unfortunate enough, still they are searching and finding in the sphere of concentration meditation. The day if they are lucky, the day they are going to see the insight, they will definitely see basically the science is wrong. Because it is extrovert. That is why Buddha said, mind your own business. Be in the present moment. Be unto your breath. And definitely it appear like boring, it appear like something monotonous, but definitely that is the truth. That is happening under your very nose. This is not a hypothesis. This is not a rationalization. This is not an inference. This is the truth. So he says, those who are intelligent, to take into their heart and practice when it is possible, or otherwise just see rationally, or listen and take it in your memory bank, and one day it will come. And this will be too late if the misfortune come and you become old age and sick and death happens without experiencing this. Therefore, it is a common and open invitation for all the young, the middle-aged and the elderly people, irrespective of the femaleness, everyone to look into. Therefore, the Western people, those who are interpreting the Buddhism, they say, nowadays Buddhism has some kind of evolution. It has no authority now. You need not anyone's blessings for this experiment. It is not the authority of Buddhists. It is the authority of human. And Buddha is the highest and the peak and the climax of the humanness. So therefore Buddhists have no rights to recognize themselves as Buddhists. They have to recognize themselves as human, and the whole world is humanity. So when it is happening, if you are to stretch your hand and develop the brotherhood or the communal idea, first of all you must know who you are. Who am I? So when you come to the elements, in the one end you will know who am I. And no one can challenge. And therefore, more your time spent with this who am I questions, the spiritual question, and come to the elements, you will see the Dhamma is never old age. It is ever living. If you are dead and if you are sleepy, you will find Dhamma is sleep and dead. But if you are living and if you are very immediate with the present moment, Dhamma is there. So that is how even just the subject of Kayanupasana is revealing and opening the door enormously. But it is up to your capacity. So therefore it is an open issue. So far we have dealt as much as possible according to the texts and as much as possible about practical experience. So I hope this kind of presentation will be an encourage for those who are practicing, as well as those who are thinking on that line, as well as those who wish to develop the theoretical knowledges. So with the help of this practical hints as well as the theoretical knowledge, may the faith developed and the energy aspect will be aroused, and the mindfulness may be steadfast, and the concentration will be clear, and the wisdom will be penetrative to see things as they are. Thank you very much. We have taken little more than 1 hour. So if any questions or something, clarifications, statements there, welcome. So you have to arrive at decision, the analysis in terms of the consciousness. From the Western point of view, feel that Udduhita Yatihita, the consciousness that is expressed, and it is not expressed like. As far as the consciousness is hooked up with and connected with the senses like the eye, the ear, the nose, the tongue, the body, the mind, that is called experience. We can experience it. We can discriminate from the seeing, from the hearing and the touching and all the kind of thing. So as far as the discriminations are there, the mind has taken the upper hand, and you have to be choosy. Because the senses are coming from all the 6 sense doors, the colors and the visual objects are impinging all the time onto the sensitivity of the ear. And the sounds waves come and strike on your eardrum. And the nose and smell is coming and always rubbing on your nose, sensitivity of the nose. And the taste, always asking the attention. And the body is always some is touching. And the mind is associating with Dhamma object. Therefore, all the 6 impingements are coming and pouring into. But the consciousness can tackle 1 at a time. Therefore, you have to discard 5 out of 6. So there, your choice comes, whether you like it or not. Soon the choice comes, your manifestations, your fabrication, your volition get into. Your volition are already embedded and you are in a rut. If you are a UNP person, you will ever be a UNP. If you are a SLFP person, you will be ever a SLFP. So all the senses go through these filters. So therefore, whenever the consciousness is hooked up with these senses, whether you like it or not, you have implemented your choice. So therefore, you have to be aware, out of 6 senses, you are ignorant about 5 and you are biased towards 1. That is also you see through your whole perception and your likings and disliking. Therefore, no way out. So that is why the Buddha says in the meditation, please close your eyes. And see that institute is closed for the moment. And go to a silent place. The hearing is not necessary. It's a disturbance. And then go to a place where I have the normal breeze, no smell. Don't talk, don't eat. And make the body just like a pyramid in the Cairo. And there is no body sensation also encouraged. And just see the breath. And ultimately the question arises, what happened when the breath ceases to exist? Definitely no sensation from the eye, no hearing, no smelling, no tasting. Breath body also stopped. Then what happened to the consciousness? It is called consciousness unrelated to the senses. This is a fearful thing for those people who knows only the consciousness that related to the senses. They appear like they lost. They appear like their time dimension disappeared. The body is no more. Well, this is the most preliminary kind of consciousness. It can comprehend the whole phenomena, not through the eye, not through the ear, nose, tongue, but some kind of a complete contented experience is there. Even the breath is not felt, perceived, but you are dead sure you are not dead. You are dead sure you are not sleepy. You are dead sure you are not fainted. But all the experiences in terms of senses have been come to the sum up, totality. That totality is the most homely experience a human being can come. So once that is come, that is called the totality. More and more you be there, the decision that the mind make is more lasting. Not like the senses or experiences coming through the senses. So therefore, whenever of course when the meditation is going on, that is what happens. The breathing become gross to subtler, and subtler to the subtlest. So when it happens, mind completely absorbed to the center, just like a turtle, take all the 6 limbs into it, into the shell. And therefore whether it's raining or shining, no problem. Exactly the mind feel quite at home, is quite contented. Those who have the moral responsibility. He who has no moral responsibility feel fearful, feel unknown area, difficult area. So therefore daily you have to train, go and come to this, the consciousness which is unrelated to the senses. In Pali it is called Indriya Patibaddha Vijnana, Anindriya Patibaddha Vijnana. Indriya Patibaddha Vijnana means the consciousness that manifests through sense doors. And the other consciousness takes the upper hand, selection takes the upper hand. Therefore, the sankhara, the volition, is running at a full show. But whenever the Anindriya Patipadda Vijnana experiences, the Sankhara become nullified. It has lost its authority. The consciousness itself is become helpless. Because you are in totality. The moment is full living. So this is the maximum you can go in terms of concentration. More you become familiar to that and experience the 1, 2, 3 hours sometimes, then you feel throughout that time you have not manifested a single thought moment. It is just passing by. You are just choicelessly be aware, silently be aware. And then you are fully living. And that is leading to more and more profound understanding of the phenomena. Just to see who am I. So therefore, the Anindriya Patipadda Vijnana is the first time, even in the temporary basis, you just nullify the volition, the fabrication of the mind, the coloration of the mind, mixing the muddy water into the pure stream. But of course it is a temporary thing, and you are not yet manifested, not yet implemented the insight line, but making a pure ground, making the white paper upon which you can draw anything. So this is the bringing mind at home. So it is immaterial kind of a experience. So therefore many are ready to say it is immaterial pleasure. Ditta Dhamma Sukha. In this very life you can experience it. And it is Vivekajam Piti Sukham. Viveka means it is free of visual objects, free of sound waves, free of smell, free of tastes, free of touch, free of thoughts. And it is of course Viveka leading to Piti. Because just like a baby, go on and sit on the mother's lap. It is the protection, it is the food, it is the place. So just like that, mind goes. But this kind of a thing happen in the deep sleep, but unfortunately enough, you are not awakened to that. But this situation, if you are well instructed and be skillful to come up to that frequently, you can be fully aware of that. So then you feel you are being just human. Be in the present moment. And knowing this is a temporary thing, but it's your endowment. Wherever you go, you can entertain it. So this can be approached through the in-breath and out-breath. Some people go to it with the hearing of the noises and the hearing of the sound of silence. Some people go through the touch of or sitting sensation. So there are many doorways to go into that. So mindfulness on in-breath and out-breath is one of the decent methods that Buddha has suggested. And when it is happening, definitely you know you are in a kind of a critical or important change in the life. So at the very early experiences are very hilariating or very thrilling. Later you find that is, I am now at home. So if you are well familiar with this one, this is the best you can do just before your interview, just before you take in the question paper. If you go to this and open your eye and see the question paper, definitely your knowledge will come flawless. Otherwise you get involved and get excited and the sweating, all the things happen. So if you develop this Anindriya Patipadda Vijnana, as and when it is possible, wherever a difficulty happens, you can implement it. And that is definitely will be the situation at the death. You know you are going to have a transfer, maru. So you are ready. You are well prepared. Otherwise what happens is, all your aspiration, your hopes and things will be at the 6. No control. Everything you know, it has gone. So you are unexpected, and then who knows what is going to happen in the next moment. But if you are prepared and experience this Anindriya Patipadda Vijnana, day by day you are experiencing the death. Therefore you are well prepared for the forthcoming death. But it appears like seeking the death or death instinct like. But as you like, you can use it as you wish. I don't know, that is a question that If the answer is meant for the question or is direct relationship. That is the beauty of inside the mindfulness and the concentration. Whenever the mindfulness and the concentration comes, you nullify the senses. You come back to home just like a turtle taken to all the limbs inside. So then onward you don't care whether it is raining or dry. You don't care who is sound, who is slamming the door. Never mind, because you know how to come at there. And once you come up there, the disturbances, thoughts and the pains are immaterial. But up to the point it goes, you come to that level, all matters. But when you come and be contented upon that, just like the cross currents are running and the raining, if you keep the doors and windows, definitely cross current will bring moisture and wet the floor. Even the roof is intact. So if you close the doors and windows, definitely there is no much of wetting. Exactly like you understand my integrity is my business, not the other person's affair. Even others are going to tease me, even others are going to disturb me. If I am getting disturbed, that is my weakness, not the other person. Otherwise, your switchboard in the other person's hand. So they can push the button and then you are being motivated like a remote control. So as far as it is there, whatever your earnings, whatever your humanness, whatever your merits, everything at the other's hand. So Buddha says it is not the way. You must maintain. You must know how to take the reins and to take the mastery. This is not the ultimate mastery. This is not the permanent thing, but this is a necessary intermediate situation. Otherwise, you can't claim as religious. You can't claim as spiritual. Because the senses are so drastically working upon you. So this is one of the threshold that you can jump, and upon which, of course, daily you have to earn it. Once you go on beyond, definitely you know you are kind of in a protection.
Sir, if you could make some clarification about the distinction between mindfulness and concentration. Is sort of a difference there?
Yeah, definitely. Mindfulness is the proximate cause for the concentration to happen. The mindfulness is not to become superficial on the object, but to penetrate. If you penetrate the object, not in the superficial manner, the unpointedness of the mind can happen. Without the assurance, without the safeguard from the mindfulness, mind will never at ease with the object and falls calm and quiet upon the object. So mindfulness is the safeguard. Just like before the king is going to set out from the palace, the royal security has to come and say, okay, now the time is okay, the security is set. Otherwise he won't come, because he knows that the security is the responsible. So exactly the mindfulness has to go and see, runaway is clear, then the plane comes. Exactly like when the mindfulness is going to manifested in the moment to moment, the consecutive consciousness is the consequence. So therefore, according to the cause and effect relationship, mindfulness is the proximate cause for the concentration. When the concentration happens, you see the object as object. You see the in-breath is different from the out-breath. Out-breath is different from the in-breath, because the mindfulness is ever going to give a chance face-to-face with the object. Face-to-face with when the in-breath happens, you know definitely in-breath is now happening. So mind can easily go and associate with the in-breath, because there is no confusion whether it's a thought, whether it's a manifestation, whether it is a direct experience, because that part has been tackled by the mindfulness. So therefore concentration happens without disturbance. So therefore these two are very important, and I would say the most important two mental aspects or mental concomitants that the beginner should take care.
Talking about the present moment, how do you keep your mind in the present moment if the present moment is unpleasant? It seems if there is unpleasantness, the mind will want to escape and you want to run as far away as possible. It's hard to drag it back in for 10 or 15 seconds. So how do you keep the mind in the present moment if it is unpleasant?
So, if I am to analyze this statement, when your mind is disappointed and when the mind is not in the pleasant, when it is unpleasant.
If the present moment is unpleasant.
Yes. So that is why mindfulness knows now the present moment is unpleasant. Yeah, that means mindful.
But then you want to run.
Okay, that is the second part, but up to this you are clear.
Yes.
So now you know you are unpleasant. And you have to sure that is mindfulness. I would say that mindfulness is much stronger than knowing that I am in a pleasure. I am repeating, when you are mindful, when you are in the pleasure, it is simple thing because entertain, the mindfulness is happy with the present, pleasantness. But when it is unpleasant and if you are still mindfulness, I am telling that mindfulness is a reinforced kind of mindfulness. That is a kind of galvanized kind of mindfulness. So leave aside the unsatisfactoriness or unpleasantness. Entertain the mindfulness. Don't try to, then you will see automatically in a rut you try to push the unpleasantness and try to bring the pleasantness. That you see under the light of mindfulness. You can see it. So this is the real implementation of mindfulness. But if you are going to interpret in such a way that mindfulness is not the matter, but still the mind is going to push away the unsatisfactoriness and the unpleasantness and trying to bring the pleasantness, you have to say that is the rut, that is the habit. Never mind, be mindful and give the priority to the mindfulness, and then mindfulness will see the whole mechanism of the habit. Whenever the unpleasantness comes, mind is gently, simply reacting. In the sense, you are trying your best to bring the pleasantness back. So let the drama to take place. Do not try to manifest it, because that is the way you have been trained our mind. That is, we have been accustomed our mind. Now it is happening. But under the mindfulness, under the light of mindfulness, definitely you will get the culprit one day. You will say how the action, what the difference between action and the reaction. I don't know if it's clear, but I am sure what I am talking about. I don't know if it is communicating.
So, be mindful of your
unpleasantness.
Because once you become mindful, whether you are, it doesn't help to keep that mindfulness there.
So that is already there. That is what I am going to convince you, that mindfulness is the one that is teaching you are unpleasant. Otherwise, how do you know? If you are absent-minded, you can't report like that. So you have to see now things are happening under the daylight. But something unfortunate happening, that is separate issue. But what is happening is under the light of mindfulness. So be happy. At least now I am in the present moment, because I am unhappy, that is separate issue. But if you are really mindful, happiness and unhappiness have same taste. But they are just shades of the same coin. It's two sides of the same coin. But you are going to give a emotional attitude, emotional judgment to the pleasantness is better than unpleasantness. That means you are not mindful. You are not in the present moment. When the present moment comes, your judgment goes. You are just seeing the object as such. Immediately, then you are, for the moment, you see the unpleasantness. So it is also kind of a manipulation. Pleasantness also kind of manipulation in the mind. But you are mindful. It is as if that person is regular burglar. He always attack the houses. But the government is going to fix a CID officer. One day he is burgling under the surveillance of the observer. The CID person, then that is the end of his game. Isn't it? But the CID person have no rights to catch the fellow. He just observes how he comes, who is the person, what is the kind of person, which time he is coming, and everything observed, that is enough. Exactly the mindfulness have no civic rights, the jurisdictional rights like the police. It is just an observer. It is just like a CID person. Or criminal investigation, how do you call the civil person come with the civil clothes and just observe. And then once he's seen the phenomena, if you give the tip to the police, a red-handed fellow can be caught. Exactly if the mindfulness is there, I am reiterating, the unpleasantness is teaching you more immediately than the pleasantness. So therefore you have to appreciate the mindfulness in the proper place. Once you become mindful, you will see the pleasantness, unpleasantness, never mind. That is why we call choiceless awareness. Do not be choosy to only appreciate the pleasantness and to just discard the unpleasantness. Choicelessly be aware the pleasant as well as the unpleasant under the light of mindfulness. The pain as well as the pleasure under the light of mindfulness. The gain as well as the loss under the power of mindfulness. Of course, the extreme pleasant and unpleasant are very difficult to comprehend within the mindfulness. You just start with the medium kind. And ultimately, the range increases as your threshold value or your stamina develops. So in the breathing also, you have sometimes the breathing happens very nicely, so you feel happy. But the mindfulness is unforgotten. It is there, implemented. And then sometimes breathing takes place, even then the no pleasure. Sometimes the breathing is disturbed by the thoughts, and then the unpleasantness happens. But you know. So that is what the Buddha says, that knowing only possible for the human beings. Not possible for any beast. You can't train any person, any beast onto this knowledge. So we are only endowed. We are the only beings that we can learn it in the theory and put into the rationality and put into practice. So when it is practicing, be choiceless, be silent observer, get aloof from the phenomena. I mean, the doctors are being asked to see clinically detached from the patient. Exactly like clinically patient is detached from the doctor. The yogi is mindfully detached from the phenomena. Whether it is pleasant or unpleasant, never mind. It is happening under the light of mindfulness. So that is why the idea of mindfulness is so dramatic. It is so convincing. So that is the intrinsic discovery of the Buddha. All the other religious teachers came out with many emotional things, many concentrated magics or creating this and that, but all are temporary. But the mindfulness put the hand to the rock bottom, and the changes happening are once and for all.
I have been bombarded with this comment from time to time by various people. What they say is, in this life, here and now, leading a domestic life, you can't practice meditation. You can go to Sutta Gatova and Gatova and that kind of thing. And how can you practice meditation at home? Just stop here to my kids and you forget everything and you have to start again. And I have been trying my best to explain, but I don't know how to explain that.
The question is it already explained to yourself or not?
Not to me.
Then I am happy. That much is enough for me.
No, not to me.
So I think that everyone can say, by associating this and being here, I become little by little awake to the day-to-day activities and slowly catching, and that is the best. Because our silence, the behavior is the biggest sermon than explaining. When the others are not prepared, whatever the way we are going to explain, not necessary. When the person is prepared, our role model, our way of behavior will be the answer. So therefore, wait till the mango is ripe. If you are going to pluck it and eat, you are going to eat sour mango. Mind your own business. Maybe I am too harsh in giving the answer. That is the way you told that may be a silly question. It is not a silly question. But I am telling the first thing first. That when you become convinced, that is what happened. When I am going to, I felt that I must become a monk and full-time meditator in 1980. When I was living with my parents and a family member, they told, you are utter, that is the Kalakanya, simply. Because just going to the forest, and what I am talking about, this is just ideologies, how to live without money and how to live without this thing. So what I am talking about? So then I am at lost. But I was not convinced to myself, so I said it to them. So 8 years fighting. Then I found no use, because they are never considered going to look the problem from my viewpoint. But I ever trying how to be how to be mindful in doing good as well as bad. How to behave with this kind of people. But ultimately when my maturity comes, I don't care what they do. I don't care what their impression is. When the mango is ripened, it drops. It can't help. So then still they are in chaotic maybe. Then I collected them, I told 3 years time you will simply understand what I am going to do. Because of course it is something very rare happening. But it took 9 years for them to understand now the forest life is possible. Forest monks are there. Even for me it is novelty. So now it is happening. And now they slowly recognizing, yes, it is possible. Even you also recognize me now. So that is how that thing happens slowly but never stops. That is the beauty of this yogic life. Things are happening slowly. And then the verbal discernments are much inefficient than the behavior. Your behavior is more louder than your words. So when you go on, one day you will not ask this question. The people will get convinced. Be happy. Be in the present moment. Do not try to teach others unless they are prepared and come and pay respect and ask you. Do not try to give. That is why Jesus Christ said, don't throw pebbles in front of pigs. Dangerous. You have to throw pebbles in front of the people, those who know the value of the pebble. That is why Buddha says, don't talk Dhamma to the people, those who are wearing shoes. Don't give to the Dhamma those who have the turbans and the hats. Those who are sitting more than high places. And he has given all the condition not to the listener, but to the preacher. Because we are talking about the deep things. Those who are prepared only can absorb. Otherwise, due to the value if you are going to pour upon them, that the person who is pouring is at fault. So therefore things are happening. That is why in America they say the good vibes. If you do happily and if you experience something, all can understand, all feel something happening, more than the grammatical explanation and the verbal kind of thing. This is happening, but in a very narrow channel, the insight is now slowly growing. The mindfulness is becoming the universal answer for all the questions. But many are entertaining doubts. That is why the Nehru he has told, I don't know whether the Buddhism can give the answer to the whole world problems, but one thing I can know, I can say, those who apply it himself will get results. That much is sure in the Buddhism. That you can't use it as a universal answer or spread in the whole over the world. The wise will get the benefit. That is some time it has been mixed up and misinterpreted as free thinking. So free thinking without any moral background, without any already developed mindfulness and the concentration, starting from the chaotic and ending up with chaotic. So therefore, hard to say. Sometimes there may be some sparks and things happen. That is what the Western philosophers are doing. They are always thinking, smoking cigarette and thinking. And they say thinkers.
Once you analyze the thoughts, you know what you are thinking and you know what you are doing.
Yeah.
So I think it's some kind of meditation, vipassana, is it?
No, definitely not vipassana. Vipassana is completely poisonous in the thinking. The thinking is completely proliferating of your same perception. But the vipassana is going back to see that thinking is a disease. Thinking is a habit. Thinking is you are in a rut. As far as you are thinking, you are not in the present moment.
Not thinking, analyzing and reading your own thoughts, what
Yeah.
comes to your mind.
So it is also this analytical knowledge that is in the Chintamaya Jnana, not Bhavanamaya Jnana. But there is 3 siddhas, Saddhiya siddha, Anumana siddha, Pachakka siddha. That's 3 ways of verifications. One thing you can verify through the faith. You can say, I am not questioning, the God is there. So he can completely devoted and he can interpret everything through the faith. And he will say other beings are foolish and they are going to think they are rationalized and therefore that God will not sympathize upon them. I am the only person. Like he can interpret the whole world. That is a faith. And the second thing is Anumana siddha, the way that you say, if it is so, it must be like that. It must be so, it is like that. Like that you can do inferential or logical and the analytical way. So this is better than the faith. But it is completely different from the Pachakka siddha, what is to directly experience. Be in the present moment with the in-breath and the out-breath. When we are walking, get the touch. I mean, that is no one can deny because that is under the nose happening. So that is the direct touch. That is called Pachakka siddha. Pachakka means direct in front of your eye. Or in the English we call under the nose. All the religious going from the Saddhiya siddha, then Anumana siddha, then Pachakka siddha. Only the Buddhism says Pachakka siddha is the first and foremost. Accordingly the Anumana siddha, accordingly the Saddhiya siddha. Once the Pachakka siddha established, definitely Anumana siddha happens. Once the mindfulness and the concentration happens, the analytical mind is working. But ever the direct experience is leading. Never the analytical knowledge. Or horse is leading, the cart is behind. When the analytical mind goes first, cart before the horse. No trip. Then you are cutting off to the present moment. Everything is in the dream world, everything is the thinking world, so it is not appreciated. But the analytical knowledge or the inferential knowledge is accepted in Buddhism once the direct experience is leading. Once the direct experience is in good shape, analysis happens. That is the nature of the mind. So therefore, Pachakka siddha, Anumana siddha both considered as insight meditation, given the Pachakka siddha is leading. If the Anumana siddha is leading, then onward the cart before the horse happens. So therefore, whenever you are drifting in the meditation, come back to the breath and make the orientation from the direct touch. When you are in walking, when the thinking thoughts happen, stop walking, come back to the walking and get the touch, again start with the walking. Likewise, whenever the navigation becomes unclear, refer to the northern star and then get the orientation and then you know where you go. That must be a direct knowledge. So that is the difference between the thinkers as well as the people, those who are really practicing. So when you are reading the Western thinkers and the Western philosophy, you get amazed how much of insight they are coming out of thinking. But when I am reading these books, the Westerners are blackguarding me because these people are really immoral people. They are not entertaining what they have written and they have not present to the world. Their life is in misery. And we are reading good philosophies, good theories and all the kind of thing. But Buddha is not, he says what he talk, he is what he is doing. What he is doing is what he is talking. So therefore, you also must experience the same. So therefore, just mere thinking, of course it appears like very direct and very dynamic and very catchy, but leading nowhere. So therefore, Pachaka Siddha has to go forward. Perception? Yeah, perception is taking the upper hand. You do not know whether it is just a thought about or just experience. So therefore, you lose the orientation. So in the discussions also, all the time, you have to bring the discussion back to the present moment. Otherwise, we will start thinking about unrelated thing and we will never end the discussion. Whenever whatever you are talking, if you are talking about what you experience, then the discussion is very lively. But if you think what you happen, what should, then discussion is so deadly. I mean, there is no leading. So all the time you have to come back to the here and now, present moment. Then any time is tea time. Any time is mindfulness time.
What I'm experiencing is that some days the state is, my meditation is very good. I can concentrate very well and be like when I discuss with you. But some days it just does not happen. But what I have in mind is as you progress when you are always doing it, you are supposed to be progressing, not going down. What am I doing wrong?
Nothing wrong. That is exactly, he says, you are very aware that you are unpleasant. You are mindfully, you know, I am unpleasant. So what is wrong? Unpleasantness is also part and parcel of you. Is the reality of the phenomena. So sometimes you know you are unpleasant. Sometimes you know you are unpleasant. So both are valid as far as the mindfulness is there. So therefore it is nothing wrong in you. Definitely the darkness happens, the light happens. Like the changes are happening. You must be ready to face the both. Then there is no question. Because we are training ourselves for the vicissitudes of the world. The gain and the fame are changes. So you must know how to deal with such a thing. So slowly, your tolerance, the capacity will increase. Ultimately you will forget about these things. Be mindful. Be mindful of the unpleasant. Be mindful of the present. Be mindful of the achievement. Be mindful of the disappointments. So if you can light the candle into your heart, I am happy with. But outside light can't help. That is why they say that even the the suns going to arise, nothing inside. Inside will be ever dark unless you are faithful. When the faith comes, everything becoming light, when you are bright. So therefore, external light, the sun or anything, any light source, don't enlighten inside. So therefore, the light, when you are going to meditate, don't go for dark places. Well, it is not a good atmosphere. But when you are going, it must be medium light. It must be normal breeze. And therefore, you start with a very good atmosphere. When the meditation goes, sometimes it goes through the tunnels. Sometimes you have the tunnel doors. Yeah. Yeah, that is doing something means a reaction. That means you are not happy with the unpleasant situation. But you have to understand, unpleasantness is part and parcel of the life. You have to train yourself for the sizable, or comprehensible, perceivable unpleasantness. From that only, you will develop further and further to be tolerant, to be unhesitant, even for the deep unpleasant situation. Otherwise, we will be ever immature vegetables like, not good for the transport.